Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, distinguished guests, and folks of all stripes, put your hands together for the Space Cadet Sports Podcast. Houston, we have Paul Salazar Jr.
Hey y'all, welcome back to the Space Cadet Sports Podcast, your Houston sports podcast for diehard Houston sports fans from a diehard Houston sports fan. I'm Paul Salazar Jr., your favorite diehard Astros fan podcaster. I'm an actor, movie nerd, self-appointed cookie philosopher, and creative multi-hyphenate, of course. I'm a Houston native and I have the receipts to prove it, believe it or not. I was in Houston before the George R. Brown Convention Center. That is how old I am. However, I have spent the last decade or so as a comedy writer in L.A., and now I'm podcasting. That happens once you hit 10 years out here in Los Angeles. You just start to accept LAX as fine, and they give you a podcast. This is said podcast. This is what my brother calls the Paul Broadpod Ball blog. Hey, brother. Check out spacecadetsports.substack.com for the full blog experience or the full blog experience, whatever way you want to look at it. I started Space Cadet Sports as a passion project because most media is infuriating as a die-hard long-term fan of Houston's teams, mostly the Houston Astros as of late, not gonna lie. But we try not to be doom and gloom. Houston fans, or worse, national media haters or avoiders. We love our teams and root them on, but also we want to try to discuss the ins and outs of them without too much homerism. Keyword here, try. We try to be reasonable and not too hot-takey or reactionary. And now that it is late October, happy Halloween, folks. Happy Halloween, I guess I should say. I apologize for not bringing the energy, for not bringing the noise and bringing the funk there. I could be high energy when I need to be. Happy Halloween, folks. Yeah, we're late October, going straight into November. This is the time for sports, that kind of last week of October, first week of November, depending on the World Series there. The World Series just wrapped up yesterday. We'll get to that, but this is most importantly Houston Sports Podcast, so I'm just saying this is a great time for sports. I'm happy to be here with y'all, to be able to talk about it. We are recording this transmission here in sunny LA. I'm joined as always by my co-host and producer, the Roz to my Frasier. Carla the dog is here with me. She may get on mic from time to time. The UPS guy already came by today. She scared the hell out of him. He was not too happy about that. He did not think that this would be a trick-or-treat moment for him. He kind of gave me a dirty look. I get it. The guy got scared. I understand. I'd probably give a frustrated look or something too, but I'm like, come on, my guy, you're a UPS guy. You should know how to deal with dogs. And I know my dog can be a little threatening sometimes, but she was behind a window. You're okay, bud. Anyway, enough of that. Enough of me just complaining about Angelinos, which, as much as this is a Houston sports podcast, sometimes it is me complaining about LA as well. But I know my audience. That's why I make jokes about it. On this episode, we are actually getting to something, but there is a reason to have this episode. I'm not just feeling goofy and doing silly things on the podcast today. No. Today, we are actually talking about Paul's picks. We are going to reach into the NFL week. Oh my God, I don't even know what week it is. We're looking at week 9, I believe. Man, I am kind of out of it today, folks. I've had quite a week. I've had a very busy week. I've had to stay up pretty late for the last couple nights, and I haven't been getting that much sleep, so I feel a little delirious. Definitely some Halloween energy, some Joker energy. For those of you who follow me on social media, you know what I'm talking about. So today, move over Jimmy the Greek. It's time for Paulie the Geek. We're gonna get to my NFL Week 9 picks. We're gonna look back at NFL Week 8, and we're gonna see how I've done so far this season with Paul's picks. This is the point of the podcast where I'd like to mention this is not just a sports podcast. This is a comedy podcast. Just a reminder to my degenerate gambler friends. Please, no judgment. If you're making your bets and you make a lot of bets, that please do your thing. I'm teasing lovingly, but just a reminder that this is a silly irreverent man making picks here. I'm not trying to give actual trying to be like, this is the most solid advice. I'm having some fun here, and I want you to be having fun with me, kind of checking in with my record versus your record. I know a lot of people do pick them out there. We'll also get to Fantasy Corner in this episode. We will talk about how I've been doing in my fantasy league. Both of the leagues that I mentioned, my Pick'em League and my Fantasy League, are populated by a bunch of old friends that I love so dearly. So it's a nice fun friend league that I discuss here on the podcast, and you can kind of let me know how you have been doing in your various fantasy leagues. We'll also check in with the Houston Dynamo. We'll stop by Dynamo Corner as they are in the playoffs right now, and we will check in again, have another segment about the Houston Rockets. The Rockets are in a full swing now in the beginning of their season, and we'll check in with him. I have not been able to do as much Rockets coverage as I would have wanted so far this young season, folks. I'll be honest with you, I didn't spring for the NBA package, and I kind of struggled in my in the wide open seas trying to find other ways to get that stream. So I haven't been able to watch as much Rockets as I wanted to. I'm behind on that, and I'm trying to catch up. Those of you who listen to this podcast, I like to watch the games so that I know what I'm talking about here. It's so much. I can sometimes, just kind of follow the games, maybe, follow with the scores, look at the stats and stuff. I will be honest if those are, that's kind of the perspective I'm bringing. But you know me, I like to watch the games. But let's go ahead and move on to our podcast here, folks. Let's look back at NFL Week 8 to start off the podcast. Hang on one second. We don't have ad breaks right now. Maybe one day when someone's foolish enough to actually pay for an ad on this podcast, we'll have one. But right now I need a coffee break, so we're going to take one of those here. All right, yeah, now I'm feeling stronger. I'm feeling better, ready to look back at Week 8. So NFL Week 8, let's look at my picks here. I was 11-5 on the week. I was tied in my sleeper league for first place, being 11-5. But more on that later. So let's I like to look back at my losses. It's easier to kind of do it that way. It's less time. Luckily for me this season, my losses have not outnumbered my wins very frequently. So it's easier to talk about the losses. I hope I don't get to the point where we just talk about my wins for time's sake. So let's see here. Thursday night, those of you who listened to last week's Paul's Pick episode, you know that I was a day late and $1 short. I did my week's picks on Friday. So I started the week off 0-1, but I also was honest with you on the podcast. I said that most likely I would have picked the Minnesota Vikings in that game. It's like a 99%. I was 99% sure. I knew it could have been a little closer, but I felt better about the Vikings. That's how I've been feeling all season. So that was pretty sure. That was pretty sure that I was going to take that loss anyway. The LA Rams win 30-20. The Rams offense is back, it looks like, but I ended up taking the loss along with Minnesota in that game. The next game I got wrong was Baltimore 24, Cleveland 29. Jameis Winston and the Cleveland Browns, show some signs of life, and they do it against the Ravens of all teams. The Ravens have been a little suspect this season. It's kind of crazy to think that this year, the Ravens and the Chiefs in a way are suspect teams. But to me they are. They are kind of, even though they have been successful, even though they have been successful in the past, even though I know these teams could easily waltz to the playoffs and make some noise there. It just seems like they both teams are a little suspect to me from at time to time, and I don't know. I don't know. Maybe if you disagree with me, please let me know. Especially if if you're a fan of these teams, you're watching these games more closely. Call in, let me know your takes. I'm not scared of a little a little disagreement. I know some people might know these teams more than me, so I'm saying, hey, let me know. But yeah, I just was shocked by this. I've been shocked by this team, the Ravens, and I've been shocked. I can't believe that I was wrong about the Browns here. Just wow all around. No way I would have picked the Browns here. So another loss. Then the game that was a little bit closer for me that maybe I could have picked right was Arizona 28, Miami 27. I'm like, still, even right now, I'm like, is that right? There's no way. But yeah, that is the score. I still, even now, I'm like, I can't believe the Dolphins lost that one. But are Tua and the Dolphins, I don't know. I've talked about this in the previous podcast. I'm just, obviously everybody's concerned for player safety. It is a very important thing. Just hoping Tua can be healthy. I don't know what to make of the Cardinals still. Obviously, the Dolphins, even with Tua back, can struggle to win some games here. Moving on, the next one I got wrong, and I just can't believe it. This was another one that's kind of a shocker, was the New York Jets 22, the New England Patriots 25. The New England Patriots win this one against the Jets, and I was just like, at this point, I'm just like, are you kidding me? I don't know. I'm even looking at my notes about this game. I don't like, they're obviously they're words. They're English. They form a sentence, but I don't know what they mean. This whole game was confusing to me. The Patriots ended up winning it. And the Jets stink, and we'll get to more on that later, I should say. Then we have Chicago getting beat by Washington on a Hail Mary play. This was like one of the plays of the week. If you didn't see this play, you had your head in the sand, I think. I saw this play even used in political memes. This play was everywhere, but Washington, the Commanders, beat the Bears 18-15, and at this point I'm just like, yeah, well, I would have never got any of those games right. I got them wrong, folks. I think a lot of people got them wrong. If you didn't get them wrong, if you went 5-0 in these games, congratulations. Definitely let me know. Call in to the SpeakPipe, speakpipe.com/Space Cadet Sports. Leave a voicemail. Let me know what you think. Maybe you can make the podcast. One thing I am happy about looking back on Week 8 is I did get both Paul's Pick of the Week and Carla's Dog of the Week correct. Technically, Carla got the Dog of the Week correct, I should say. Paul's Pick of the Week is actually getting a little bit better with Detroit beating Tennessee 52-14 there. It wasn't... Look, I'm not going to pat myself on the back. That just felt like a really good, easy pick. That's what that's supposed to be. So at least I got that one right. I've been, it's tough when I'm getting the easy picks wrong, but it also has been that kind of a season. The first couple weeks of this season were just nuts. Then Carla's Dog of the Week was Philadelphia. Philly wins 37-17. And Carla's Dog of the Week, is now 2-6. Officially going 2-0. When I let Carla pick the winner. Obviously, Carla didn't pick Philly. I did. But as that was the only underdog of the week, Carla gets to pick between treats of the underdogs of the week. And that's... she's coming into the room. Is it time? Not yet. We'll do that a little later, Carla. And then we'll pick the dog of the week that way. And that's how now. That's Carla's Dog of the Week. Looking back at Week 8, I was Very happy to be in second place in the week. Sleeper, the app that we do the Pigskin Pick'em on, does a scheduled report for Pigskin Pick'em now, and I'm very happy to announce that while I got second place, Sarah, my darling dear girlfriend Sarah, my partner, she she won. She got it right. She beat me in a tiebreaker with the score on Monday night's game, and ended up winning the week. So she has bragging rights right now, at home. So that's, I'm kind of having to eat some humble pie here because she won the week. she was also 11-5, but she won it on the points, and I think I said it was going to be 39, and I think she said it was 48. I think the ending score was like 44 or something. So she won. Yeah, I don't know what to say, folks. It's been a tough week, so I need to get these picks right going forward. While I have done well, and while last week was a good week for me, this week I really need to pick the winners here. I cannot goof off. I need some bragging rights under my own roof. I need I need some respect, folks. So let's try to get that respect. Let's try to look at these games. I'm going to give you the over-under for them, and I'm going to also tell you the spread here. The first game, I should say, is tonight, the Thursday night game. Houston at the New York Jets. I'm befuddled by this line. The Jets came off of a loss to the New England Patriots, who are, not trying to be mean to the Patriots, but don't look great. There's some bumps in the road for their coaching. They are not kind of a team that you would put in the same tier as the Houston Texans this season in terms of how they're playing this season. So to see that the New York Jets got beat by the Patriots and then are favored at home, even if it's by the lowest of margins, by a 1.5, negative 1.5 here, at home, minus 1.5, I should say, it's kind of befuddling to me. They're given the shrug. Home team should probably get it kind of line. So they're saying it's going to be close here. So it's kind of tough right now for Texans fans. Let's just get to it. Usually I like to do a whole other Texans segment, but seeing that this is the first game, let's kind of just talk about Texans here. Stephon Diggs is out for the season with an ACL injury. At this point, that we've been sad about it for a while. I did not want to get on the podcast and just say that. That dropped the day after my great interview with Joe Jacobs. If you're just listening to the podcast now, you could go back one episode after after you finish listening to this episode. Of course, go back one episode, hear my interview with Joe Jacobs, a great Houston sports fan, and we had a great interview there. But we didn't know the Stephon Diggs injury at that time. I was waiting for breaking news to drop. I thought it could drop during the episode, but it did not. It dropped the next day or later that night, perhaps early in the morning. But either way, after talking for an hour and a half about all Houston sports, I did not want to have a 15-minute episode of me just being sad about Stephon Diggs when I didn't know a lot of details about it still going forward. We know that he's out for the season now. So that's a tough pill for the Houston Texans to swallow, for sure. Our passing game will not be what it was, but I guess to me, I understand Nico Collins was him this season. I've said on the podcast that Stephon Diggs is a great player. He's a team captain for the team. He's a great veteran leader, but sometimes it seems like he's playing decoy out there. And now I regret those words because, you said it's like, when you take when you take a romantic partner for granted, and when they leave, you're like, oh, I can't believe all the things they did for me. I took them for granted. I should have respected them more, something like that. It's like, oh man, as soon as you take Diggs out, like for the season, you're like, oh no. Well, obviously he was more than just a decoy. So, I kind of am eating those words a little bit. Obviously, that's kind of the fun / horror of having a podcast like this where you're coming out here every week talking about things. You will say things that you will be wrong about. And, I think the point of the matter is here for me is you just have to eat those words and be like, I was wrong. Yeah, I understand what I was trying to say. I get that point, but there could have been better words I used, or, at the end of the day, I could at least go back and make fun of those words, make fun of that take, and that's what I'm doing here, folks, is I am going to miss Diggs in this offense. I do think that was more, he had a whole lot more than just veteran leadership and kind of being a decoy at times, without him there, it is going to make the passing offense a little bit harder. But let's kind of look at it here. I'm excited about Tank Dell. I think with the way we've had offensive line struggles, maybe we just kind of turn this team into just a really quick offense. We run the ball, kind of do a couple play actions, with just trying to figure out a quick release for C.J. Stroud so he's not in the pocket for too long. And kind of giving Tank Dell some slants, maybe some hitch routes, some outs, some little things to kind of get him going in space in this offense, perhaps. And that way Stroud has a quick, gets that offense going quicker and gets Dell in space, and maybe he can get some yards after catch and kind of move the ball that way. We also have Xavier Hutchinson. We have Hutch out there. I'm excited to see what he can bring. This team does have a lot of wide receivers. Now, the receivers I'm about to talk about, obviously, they're not in the same tier as a Nico Collins or Stephon Diggs for sure. But I'm just trying to say this team does have some options still. So, let's not bury them or start worrying too much here. This team will be tested tonight, Thursday night on short rest. They have a lot of games in prime time and quick games these next couple of weeks here. So this team will be tested now without Stephon Diggs. So these receivers will be put to the test. They will have to be targeted. Xavier Hutchinson. We're also talking about John Mechie Jr., John Mechie III. I apologize. Now I'm even nervous I got that wrong, but I believe it's John Mechie. Either way, apologies. I believe it's John Mechie III. I am looking it up as we speak. He has been such a great off the field, heartwarming story, John Mechie. It'd be good to see what he can do on the field. He had some flashes in preseason, and that's why he's on the squad. So hopefully, maybe we could see something from him, or perhaps from Robert Woods. I think these receivers, these receivers are truly going to have to step up here. And Steven Sims to a little bit of a lesser extent. He is perhaps going to see some more time there, but he is mostly used as a special teams player. But sorry about that, folks. I'm trying to look up John Mechie here. I looked him up, and on the Texans app it just says John Mechie. So apologies. Well, I'll definitely figure that out later and try to get that right. But anyway, folks, so these receivers that the Houston Texans have, these kind of unproven guys here, they're going to have an opportunity. We're going to see what they can do tonight, Thursday night. We're going to see what offensive coordinator Bobby Slowick has in mind for this group of receivers, as an offensive unit without Nico Collins, without Stephon Diggs. We're going to see what Joe Mixon, how much they're going to lean on Joe Mixon and what situations they're going to use him. I'm also looking for some Dare Ngumbawale passes. That I feel like he's going to be in the mix. Obviously Dawson Schultz has been out there, and we've been saying, kind of clamoring for a little bit more Schultz here and there. These people that we've said we want a little bit to see a little bit from, they're going to have a huge opportunity tonight against the New York Jets. I think it's going to be a close game. I think I'm not going to feel that great about it, but it is going to be a Houston Texans win. I'm picking the Texans in this game to beat the Jets. I think the Jets, they're just not that great of a team. They are just they're in a down spiral right now, and I think that just continues. I think if the Texans lose this game, I'm not saying it's not going to be. I think a lot of people will overreact. It is football. It's how it goes. There's not a lot of games, but I'm not saying the season's over. It's just going to feel really bad. But I think the Texans win this game by maybe even 10 points. It's just gonna feel kind of rough. I worry about, but I'd like to see the Texans really give me a treat and not a trick this Halloween. I'm so happy that I'm able to see them in this game. Carla and I, I'm not going to be dressed up. I dressed up for the Halloween party, but Carla's going to be dressed up tonight. We're going to be able to watch that Halloween game together. Looking forward to a nice Texans win. I'm calling it. Let's go ahead and move on to the Sunday games here. We have Dallas at Atlanta. So sorry, I'm putting things in my notes here. Wow. Usually I am prepared. Usually I'm prepared, folks. But today, totally not. My apps aren't working. My phone isn't working with me. I can't type into my notes here. I can't read some of my notes. But we're powering ahead, folks. So our Sunday games, Dallas at Atlanta. I could read it now. Atlanta is favored. They are -2.5 here. The over/under is 52. I'm just not feeling Dallas whatsoever. I'm picking Atlanta at home. I just don't think Dallas is. I thought Dallas had the potential to be good, and that it's kind of a silly thing to say. I think a lot of teams at the beginning of the season, they have a lot more potential, a lot more hope, and sometimes if your flaws get exposed, if you just start feeling beaten down, if you start feeling like a loser, sometimes it takes some jostling and some shaking out of that mentality to kind of progress your season forward. I think, just like the Jets, I think Dallas is in kind of a spiral going down. So I'm picking Atlanta here at home. Then we have Denver at Baltimore. Baltimore is favored here heavily at -9.5. The over/under is 45.5. I'm obviously going Baltimore here. There's not much reason to choose Denver away here. I I just can't. Yeah, I'm running the simulations in my head right now. We're going Baltimore and just moving on. We have Miami at Buffalo. Buffalo here is favored at home -6. The over/under is 49.5. You have to go with Buffalo here. We're rooting on the Dolphins. We're hoping for health there, but I think the Buffalo Bills just have too much for the Dolphins to handle, and they're going to take this game. Josh Allen and his crew. Moving on to New Orleans at Carolina. Carolina are home dogs here for sure. They are +7 at home. The over/under is 43.5 for this game. The Carolina Panthers is just going to be a sad season for them. Even a team like the Saints, they that are not having the best of a season right now. They're struggling. They're on the road in Carolina, and Carolina is +7. So we're of course gonna go with New Orleans here. I don't think the Panthers can beat New Orleans even at home. So let's see. Then we have the Las Vegas Raiders at Cincinnati. Cincinnati's favored here by a touchdown, -7. The over/under is 46.5. We're going with Cincinnati, but it's the Raiders in Cincinnati. This seems like a stay away. Whenever I feel good about the Bengals, they tend to bingle me. So this is a hesitant Cincinnati. I don't know why. It just seems like a game that the Raiders steal. Maybe a trap game for Cincy. Moving on to the LA Chargers at the Cleveland Browns. The Cleveland Browns obviously won a big game last week against the Ravens. They're not quite as bad as we think, especially with Jameson Winston under center. But I feel like like in Futurama, the clamps. I feel like the Chargers are going to put the clamps on the Browns, and the Chargers will win this game. We'll eke this one out. We're going with the Chargers here. Next we have Washington at New York Giants. The Giants are home dogs, 3.5 against Washington. I really like Washington. I'm going with them here on the road against the Giants. I really like Washington because I think the spread there is wrong. Obviously, it isn't. They know what they're doing when they make these spreads, and it's adjusted based off of bets. But obviously, I think the spread or public consensus is wrong if I think Washington has this a little bit more easily. Next, we have a real stinker of a game. We have the New England Patriots at the Tennessee Titans. The Titans are actually favored. They're -3.5 here at home. The over/under is 48. Expecting some points on the board here. It's really hard to feel like I want to go with Tennessee. So I'm not. I'm going with the Patriots, the upset. I think the Patriots beating the Jets, I think they have a little bit more spunk and fight in them. I think that kind of narrative I was trying to fall into earlier in the season with Coach Jared Mayo, kind of being able to really coach these guys, playing with some passion. There's been some ups and downs for the Patriots, but I'm thinking the Patriots show a little bit more fight here and are some underdogs here and win on the road. I'm gonna get a little spicy with it here and go with the New England Patriots. Then we have the Chicago Bears at the Arizona Cardinals. The Cardinals are favored minimally. The disrespectful home line of -1 against the Chicago Bears. The over/under is 44.5. I'm actually going with the Cardinals here. I think the Chicago Bears have struggled in certain times, whereas the Cardinals have found ways to win these games that I didn't think they could win. But they've also found ways to lose games where I thought they were favored. I'm gonna go with the Cardinals here. I just don't trust either of these teams, if I'm being honest, especially with that line. I'm staying away, but seeing that I have to make a pick, we're going with the Cardinals and moving along. Jacksonville at Philadelphia here. Philadelphia is heavily favored at home, -7.5 and a 45.5 over/under. I think this might be a trap game for the Philadelphia Eagles. I think the Jacksonville Jaguars, for whatever reason, I'm just feeling like the potential for the Jaguars spiciness out of nowhere and the Philadelphia Eagles ability to just absolutely flounder. I think this is a combination for the Jacksonville Jaguars, at least making it close through half of a game or something like that. I don't feel good enough to pick them. I think maybe this is also a stay away, but I'm gonna go with Philly here, as even though they're, that line I'm unsure of, but I'm going Philly to win for sure. Moving on to Detroit at Green Bay in a game that is going to be very fun to watch. I believe Green Bay is our home dogs here. They're +3.5 at home with an over/under of 48. woof. This is gonna be a tough one. I really don't know here. Especially going against the spread either way, this might be a little bit of a tricky one for me. But if we're just picking the winner, looking at Detroit at Green Bay, I don't know, something about Lambeau. I feel like Green Bay can squeak this one out. But Detroit obviously is a better team. You feel like has this huge momentum behind them. But something in my gut, maybe it's just the Texans getting just completely stopped and beat late at Lambeau. Like, I'm believing in that Lambeau magic, I guess. So I'm actually gonna go with Green Bay here as the underdogs. And we're gonna move along to the next game because I'm unsure about it, and I already said it, so we're sticking with it and moving on. Next, we have the LA Rams at Seattle. Seattle is the home dogs. Home dogs once again here. They're a +1.5 at home against the Rams. The over under is 48.5. This one's gonna be pretty close. I think this one I'm feeling nervous about. Probably wouldn't want to touch either. Now I'm turning into a little bit of a nervous person here. I have high anxiety, not wanting to touch these games. They're just all stayaways. I'm just gonna stay home. I'm just gonna stay home and watch the game in fear this Halloween. It sounds like, but yeah, I'm really not sure here. This really feels like it could be a coin flip game even. I think the Rams have more momentum. Obviously, that big game last week, but the Seattle Seahawks are spicy, and they're at home. I'm gonna actually go with the Rams here. I feel like they have that momentum with them. I'm gonna go with the momentum over home field advantage. Next, we have the Indianapolis Colts at the Minnesota Vikings. The Vikings are pretty highly favored here. We have a -5.5 at home for the Vikings. The over-under is 46.5. I'm definitely choosing the Vikings. I'm not going to overthink this. The Colts right now seem to be in a little bit of a soap opera with Anthony Richardson, kind of taking himself out of a game. Joe Flacco being named the quarterback, I guess, at least for the week. We're gonna see what the Colts do moving forward. I feel like they're trying to, parent Anthony Richardson here and kind of slap him on the wrist and make a big show out of it. But it's also like, yeah, it's just a mess, and I'm glad it isn't my team. I'll just put it that way. But we're picking the Minnesota Vikings. We'll stay tuned for the Indianapolis Colts soap opera and see what happens as that continues on. Next, we have the last game of the week. It's the Monday night game. Tampa Bay at Kansas City. Kansas City is heavily favored here. The Chiefs are -8.5. That seems too high for how crazy Tampa Bay has been this season. I don't know. I don't trust. Tampa has found ways to stay in games sometimes. I don't know. Kansas City, I feel like keeping games close. Maybe that's not exactly true. It's just how I feel in my heart. I don't know why I don't trust them. So once again, this is the week of me being scared and fearful. I don't know how I feel about the spread here. The over-under is 45.5. Obviously, I'm picking Kansas City to win. I just don't know what this Tampa Bay team is going to do here, but we're going to go with Kansas City. For Paul's pick of the week, we're looking at some regular, some regular teams that I generally like. We have Baltimore definitely heavily favored at home against Denver. That's hard to pass up. We also have Minnesota favored at home against Indianapolis and that soap opera. I really like both of those picks as a pick of the week. Those are kind of the ones I'm leaning towards. But we also even have that Buffalo at home against Miami. So while I am kind of scared of some of these games, there are some games I'm feeling pretty confident in, obviously, here, as I have some options. I think, for your eliminator pick and that kind of stuff, and that's generally how I do this. We're going to go with Baltimore at Denver. That's probably been a pick a team a lot of people have used, but there are options for you here in the mix that I have mentioned. But Baltimore is officially Paul's pick of the week, and now we are going to choose Carla's dog of the week. Okay, folks, I just did the Carla's dog of the week treat pick for her. So I labeled my two dogs here. I had New England and Green Bay to choose from as my two dog picks, and I put G and an N on a couple of treats, and and she chose New England. So New England is officially Carla's dog of the week. She is walking into the studio now to give her seal of approval. I can't believe it. I need to actually write this down here before I forget, because sometimes I have to go back and listen to the podcast. Like a loyal listener, I have to go back and listen to the podcast for the picks if I don't write them down. So Carla's pick dog of the week is New England, and the Paul's pick of the week is Baltimore. Writing that down for future reference, folks. Let's go ahead and move on to the Pigskin Pick'em total. How I've been doing on the season. Let's see here. This season, I am 79 and 59 this year. Not too bad, folks. Not too shabby. I am tied for fourth in my Pick'em League with Sarah. Oof. I need to have a good week, folks, for bragging rights. I truly, truly do. Let's kind of go back real quickly to my fantasy football league. Last week, I played my good friend Mark Tusky there. Unfortunately for Tusky, I ended up winning by a minimal, small little margin, 137 to 133.86, essentially. Malik Neighbors just needed to have a slightly better Monday night game for my guy, Mark Tusk, and unfortunately did not do enough to move the needle in his favor. In this kind of really high-scoring affair here, I was able to win it. I'm now 6-2 in the league. I don't know what to say, folks. Right now, I'm sitting pretty. I'm in second place in the league. I am now playing the first place team in the league. My good friend Bernardo Cabrera and I are playing this week in a battle for first place. He has a 94% start-sit accuracy. That's pretty solid, especially compared to my 86.3% average. With just kind of basic-looking teams here, I am very minimally. We're both looking to get over 120 points, with me getting 123 and barely eking out this win in the sleeper projected matchups. So we'll see. I'm hoping to continue to have a great season here. Looking at the Houston Dynamo here really quickly. We'll stop by Dynamo Corner. Your Houston Dynamo are in the MLS playoffs. It's time to grind to shine. They had a draw in the first match here against the Seattle Sounders in Seattle. Match 2 is Sunday, November 3rd in Houston, I should say, at Shell Energy Stadium. So definitely, if you are in Houston, go check that out. So that will definitely, we are new Dynamo fans here, folks. Truly, I've always known they've been a team. I've always been like, yeah, they're my MLS team, but we are actually following them these last couple of seasons, and we are very happy to. So let's grind to shine and root on our Dynamo here in the MLS playoffs. Speaking of playoffs, apparently the MLB had playoffs going on this year. I kind of tuned out a little earlier in the month. But the New York Yankees blew a lead and gave the Dodgers the last game on errors here last night. kind of wrapping up the season before October wrapped up, and keeping the baseball season short here, folks. The Yankees weren't able to extend it. They lost the World Series in a gentleman's sweep. The Dodgers win 4-1. Living in LA, obviously, it was a night full of fireworks and crazy stuff out here. So congratulations to Dodgers fans. I do know some Dodgers fans out there that are really good people, so congratulations to you. But most of y'all need to calm down and stop being so violent. There was so much crazy stuff this postseason, from a lot of fans. Everybody just calm down. My goodness. The Yankees fans that held Mookie Betts' arm and try to steal that home run. It's just so much silliness there. Baseball and sports can be very intense at times, so definitely everyone take a breather, take a step back. It was a tough, long season. The Dodgers end up winning it, and you know what? It's a terrible time to be a baseball fan if you're not in LA. But there's only there's only a certain. We're gonna start counting down the days till pitchers and catchers report to spring training. I can almost smell the hope again. Last but not least, let's go ahead and talk about our Houston Rockets, folks. Your Houston Rockets are 2-2 on the season. Since we last talked, they lost a game by 20 points to the Memphis Grizzlies, and then lost a close one to the San Antonio Spurs. They lost that one by 3 points on back-to-back nights, and then just recently, earlier this week on Monday, they were able to win one against San Antonio at San Antonio yet again. This time they won 106-101. So your Houston Rockets, they definitely, have had an up and down season so far. We're trying to figure out what to expect from this Rockets team. Some things that we projected to be strengths have not exactly been gelling. There's people already claiming that we need to make some trades and figure out what personnel we want to use on the court. Folks, it's the second season. It's the second week of the season, I should say. So yeah, we're trying to figure this team out, but the hot takes are already in. People are already being very reactionary. And like I said earlier, I did not plan to come on here and give you some really strong hot takes or opinions. That's not my style. But also, I am trying to catch up to these games. I am a little bit behind. Tonight, they are playing Dallas. The Mavericks. They're playing them in Dallas. That's a 5:30. That for me, that's 5:30 to 7:30 Central for y'all. This Halloween game. What my plan is by the next time I come on here and do a podcast, I want to have watched a whole lot more Rockets games and give you a whole lot more opinions here. Or I have some friends that have been watching them too. Maybe I'll get somebody on to come on and talk about your Houston Rockets, and we could have a discussion about them that can go into a little bit more detail. But folks, that is going to go ahead and do it for this transmission, Space Cadets. Thank you so much for listening to the podcast. I very much appreciate it. Please smash those buttons for me. Like, rate, review, subscribe, share, bop it, skip it, kick it. All of those buttons, please hit them for me. Go ahead and check out my Substack. That's going to be spacecadetsports.substack.com. You can put your email in there for free and get every article, podcast, everything emailed to you directly for free. Or you can download the Substack app, search Space Cadet Sports, click that you want notifications instead of emails, and do the app version of it instead. It's like having your own Space Cadet Sports app to let you know whenever there's an article or podcast or meme drop there on your phone. Reach out to me on social media. Let me know what you think. Let me know if you're following the Houston Dynamo. Let me know if you've been watching every game of the Houston Rockets. Let me know what receiver you think is going to be targeted the most this Sunday on the Houston Texans. You could leave a voicemail on SpeakPipe. That's speakpipe.com/Space Cadet Sports. I'll say that again, speakpipe.com/Space Cadet Sports. Or you can reach out on social media. That's Space Cadet Sports on Instagram and Threads, or to me directly at Paul Salazar Jr. on all social media platforms. Thank you so much for listening, folks. We are a small podcast, and we are supported by listeners like you. So please share the podcast with other H-Town hustlers, other Houston sports fans that need the good news in their life, that need a good word, like a little pick-me-up. Let them know I'm out here talking about Houston sports. Remember, to be the best that you can be, keep your head up, kid. And as always, vamos Houston.